Hey, what's up, YouTube? Well, surprisingly, I'm finding a way to make a video on April 11th, which I wasn't expecting. And as you can see, my necklace says Happy Easter. And once again, I never would have thought that when I finally got to wear this necklace, it would be such a horrible Easter as far as, being quarantined and not being able to go anywhere, do anything fun. Forget egg hunts. I haven't done anything like that since I was a kid, and even then I didn't really enjoy it all that much. But everything is shut down. Everything. It doesn't matter what it is, you can't really go out and do anything. But what I'd like to talk about today is yet another unpleasant subject, but I'll try to kind of ease into it a different kind of way. First of all, something I forgot to show yesterday when I showed my lovely Patsy dolls was a few other types of cheap dolls, which this right here is not a lovely Patsy, but it's another cheap hollow doll. And this is, I think, a lovely Patsy that used to be a mermaid, but I made it into some sort of a baby that's just a little bit smaller, and I couldn't decide if I wanted it to be a boy or a girl, so obviously it's probably a boy since it's wearing blue. And there's way too many girls. But so the other type of doll that I bought, I want to say, pretty sure I was 23 when I made these hybrid type of, it's a long story. You see, obviously she's got a head just like this doll, but she's a little bit taller, and so is this little guy. And the way I made them was something a little bit different. They used to have these strawberry shortcake type dolls that had an enormous head, and they had some kind of funky hair color like hot pink or blue or purple, which I really didn't like. Especially not at the time. I didn't have near enough dolls to be collecting weird colored dolls like that. And another pet peeve I have is I do not like dolls that have abnormal skin tones, meaning I don't mind dolls that are anywhere from dark brown to ivory skinned, but I really don't like a doll that has blue, green, or purple skin, or any color that a human wouldn't ordinarily have. Well, never would have, of course, except a movie. So that kind of rules out a lot of Monster High dolls and stupid dolls that just are colored unusually. And that's also why I never did like The Simpsons, because they were yellow. And I mean literal yellow, not just figuratively. So yeah, I really don't like things that are on the extreme end of abnormal. And that's what I want to talk about today. Something that is just so effed up, gotta keep it PG, that I think it's ridiculous. And the subject matter is cloth diapering. Just can't get through a day without talking about poop. But one thing that really gets me angry, and it kind of ties into my last poorly made video in bed, and one thing that really makes both me and my mom angry is to hear that someone is using cloth diapers in frickin' 2020, like as if it were 100 years in the past, okay? And that really makes me mad for a number of reasons. And my mom gets mad. I mean, she would rather believe that such women don't even exist. It just really infuriates her, for me to even mention cloth diapers, because she always shuts it down with, nobody uses those, nobody. And I'm like, well, Mom, the vast majority of people in the world are not Americans. There's some other countries where the babies go naked for the first 3 years of life. Well, that doesn't count, you know. And so anyway, it really makes my mom mad to even hear that people exist in 2020 who use cloth diapers. And, she wants to believe that it's just so impractical and disgusting and unhygienic that there is just no one outside of an insane asylum, maybe, that would even dare to consider it. And, that's what I want to talk about, because in my mind, The only reason to ever make or use a cloth diaper is for a baby doll that doesn't have a GI tract or a bladder. And that's the way I feel, because no human child in 2020 should ever be put in a freaking cloth diaper. And I lose respect for anyone the minute they say that they're using cloth diapers or they're trying cloth diapers or whatnot. And that goes for especially these preachers' wives that have ridiculous numbers of children. I mean, that in and of itself is ridiculous enough, to be pregnant for number 5, 6, 7, and onward. It's like, why didn't you stop, somewhere before then? Okay, and then when I see that they're using cloth diapers or they post blog entries about it, it just really it kills any respect I might have ever had for their opinion or them as a woman and a mom. But yeah, I mean, homeschooling is outrageous enough. Having that many children, is even worse. But cloth diapering just takes the cake for ridiculous, because it's like, why? Why would anybody even consider that in a year like 2020? Like, we're not in the freaking 1950s, although that might be cool. But, so, yeah, it's like, why do people do that? Um, and why is it even allowed? Like, why do they even have companies that make cloth diapers of any kind? And it just really makes me angry, and it's just that, I mean, yeah, I get not wanting to spend thousands of dollars on diapers, but here's the thing: don't have a kid. See, that's what you do. When you can't afford the diapers, you don't have a kid. See? I mean, I figured that out a long time ago. I knew I never wanted to buy thousands of diapers and, spend a fortune on them and change them all the time. But guess what? I didn't have any kids. So yeah, it just really makes me angry. When people talk about cloth diapering and elimination communication, which, like I've stated in my last video, there is no such thing as a kid that is potty trained by 1 year old, certainly not a boy. I mean, there is just no such thing as a male that can be potty trained before 24 months in the way that an adult is potty trained. There's just no such thing as a kid that, gets up in the middle of the night, takes off his diaper or whatever, and sits on the toilet, before 2 years old. And so I think it's ridiculous to consider a kid potty trained, at 12 months old or younger, because it's like, if they're not wiping their butt and they aren't night trained, then they're not potty trained. I mean, potty trained is when basically you're like an adult, you go to the bathroom and nobody even knows about it. Like, you know what I'm saying? My parents have no earthly idea how many times a day I go and what it's like, or you know what I'm saying, because I would never even tell them that. And so there is just no such thing as a child that is under 2 years old and is potty trained to that extent. They don't just get up and go to the bathroom and nobody knows about it. No, mom is doing everything. And like I said in my last video, if and when they switch to it being their responsibility to take care of every bit of it, during that process, they will crap their pants several times. And it's like, I mean, I don't know why anyone would even argue that point with me, because I had a little sister, okay? And like I say, my mom was too smart to do this cloth diapering for maybe more than, I don't know if she didn't try it for one day with me and decided that it wasn't for her. But she never even thought about it with my sister. And in fact, my sister was in Huggies, all the way from birth until well over 2 years old. Like, my mom didn't even introduce her to the potty chair until she was 25 months. And then when she saw that it wasn't working out, she didn't push the issue and didn't really get serious about it until she was at least 2.5. So she wasn't day trained until she was a little shy of 3. And then she wasn't night trained until she was over 3. And then, well, I was slightly younger when I trained. Like, I pretty much trained day and night really quickly, around 2.5. But, my mom just, when she saw that something wasn't working, she just wasn't the kind of parent to force it. And my little sister, okay, so let's say she was potty trained by 3, and she was in panties all day, all night. Well, you know what? Like I've stated before, and I hope she never has the opportunity to watch these videos, she literally crapped her pants every single year of her childhood. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, especially 15, 16, 17, maybe even 18. right before she left the house. Okay, so she literally made number two in her pants at least once a year all throughout her childhood. I mean, there was never an age in her life that went by and she didn't poop in her pants at least once. So that's what I don't understand about this early toilet training or whatever they call it with infants. Okay, let's say you could train a child about 2 years sooner than we trained my sister, which was by about three. Okay, let's say you could have a child that's about 12 months old when they achieve that level of training. Okay, what does it really freaking matter when they're 14 and for some odd reason, like let's say that instead of 14, let's just back everything up 2 years, okay? Pretend that she's 2 years younger when each of these events happen, okay? The time she pooped in her panties at 3 and 4, let's say she would have been 1 and 2 instead. Okay, and that those many times at age 5, let's say she would have been age 3. Okay, let's just subtract 2 from her age for each of these incidents. Okay, so that week that she was 14 and she did it at least 8 times that week. Let's say she would have been 12. Okay, how much does that freaking matter? Whether a child is 12 or 14, at that point, and they poop 8 times a week in their pants because they have an illness. Okay, so that's what I'm trying to say. Is okay. Don't even tell me about it. Some kid that's potty trained by 1 year old, because I would be much more impressed with someone who is 36 and has never sharded. Actually, I'm going to be 37 this summer, and knock on wood, I have never sharded or pooped in my pants in my remembered life. And I would be much more impressed with someone like that than with someone who supposedly was daytime potty trained at a year old because of mom's help. Okay? And and this freaking cloth diapering, like I say, I mean that is just so ridiculous. I mean, why in the 21st century would someone want to live like we're in the 18th or 19th or something? Um and why? I mean, why do they even support that industry? Like, why does anyone even make cloth diapers? And why? I just don't understand what kind of a person, other than a total nutcase or an Amish person, which I don't respect, would even think about cloth diapering. I mean, that's like freaking getting a wood stove. Like, if I decided to tell the apartment, hey, I want a wood stove instead of an electric one, or something crazy like that. Somebody like using a washboard instead of a washing machine and a clothesline instead of a dryer. It's about that level of stupid. So why people cloth diaper is a mystery to me.